Chainsaw Man, it just hits different. It hits it in a very unique way in compared to a lot of other shonens. And I'm not just talking about Shonen Jump. I mean shonen the genre across the board. And what's funny is when I started to introduce the series to people, a lot of people like when they'd be like, "Oh, can I get a second opinion on this? Has anybody else tried it?" And there was like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of gore and action, and it's fun for what it is." But that's really not the case because there's a lot of aspects uh, from the series that you can get a lot of deeper meaning to because with this when you compare something like, oh yeah, the whole moment with Makima explaining to Denji kind of the gaps between getting with like someone that just for getting with them versus like getting with somebody you actually care about, explaining like the deeper meanings, like emotional attachments and what's not. And I thought that was like by itself like a really good like this layout of both her character and just explaining this very emotional like depth to Denji, who had never really had anything, for uh, relationships at all. And then in this chapter, you had a really nice parallel of these two characters of Denji, the main character, and Aki, who's the rival character. And it's gonna be so amazing that this I think will become. I think this is the start of like their actual friendship because up until this point they didn't like each other. They didn't like each other. It wasn't something like it wasn't something kind of like Naruto and Sasuke where they had respect for each other, but they understood each other, and even then they didn't really like each other a whole lot, but there was still again like a level of respect between them. You have someone like Natsu and Gray, who they fought, but there's just more like brotherly fighting. They actually did care about each other. As members of the guild and a family. You have someone like Deku and Bakugo, where it's a very weird kind of one-sided relationship. And one's like, "I know you're a jerk, but I know that's just how you are, and you don't actually mean it." And then you get over someone like Asta and Yuno, who they respect each other. They have a very actual rivalry, kind of much more of a like nice rivalry instead of this just kind of hatred in a lot of areas. Denji and Aki was just they didn't like each other. It wasn't in any way like, oh, we're just playing, we're secretly friends or anything. It was Denji didn't care about Aki, and Aki didn't care about Denji. Aki only cared that, oh, he could be useful in killing the Gun Devil. And in this chapter, they had a really good bonding experience. So the chapter starts out pretty calm, really nice cover of Aki and Himeno, and then we get into the Katana Devil guy. He's all chained up. I thought it was really cool that Denji chained him with chainsaw chains, like you can see the teeth running along him up into the train cart. And Denji, he's like, yeah, I figured that you could, you'd heal from that, you put yourself back together. Because as of right now, the kind of hybrid characters, the Devilman that Denji and the Katana guy are, they are immortal, assuming the only way that you'd be able to kill them is by like crushing their heart or something, because clearly, as they've said, the devil heart that they have seems to be a heavy aspect of their power, because the Gun Devil wants Denji, but not because, oh, I want Denji as a person. He wants the chainsaw power, and from that they said to bring him his heart. So I'm guessing that as long as his heart is intact, then he's still alive. Now, Denji was not very kind about this. He's just like, well, the police will get here eventually, and all the devil hunters, but until then, I got time with you. And he's just mad about this dude, and is the reason partly that Himeno ended up dying, and Denji's like, you took a good looking woman from the world, and I'm just not gonna let that go by. So he's decided he's gonna start a tournament. Aki shows up, and he's like, this is the perfect timing, because what we're gonna do is, out of revenge for what this dude did, and obviously you got ties to it about Himeno. We're gonna kick this dude in the balls until the police get here, and whoever makes him scream the loudest wins. And Aki's just like, I don't know about that. That's well, He's like, I don't know if Himeno would be really happy about it. He then pulls out the cigarette that says "Easy Revenge," and he's like, all right, fuck it, let's do this. And then there's just a part of them like in like a happy bliss moment. You think it'd be like another series, it'd be like the characters, getting along, being buddies, and just like sitting, having a moment, maybe like reflecting on stuff in the arc. No, they're just kicking this dude in the nuts. And I'm curious if anybody else, just like the first thing that I thought of in this scene is, I just thought of the movie Step Brothers and like the end when they fight all those kids combined with like when they first become best friends. Because this is literally going to be that moment. It's going to be like a year or so from now, and Denji and Aki have kind of developed like a good friendly relationship, probably become, good rivals. And this is going to be the part for it. And I mentioned that, you had like a moment earlier in the series, you had a lot deeper meaning. This is a nice parallel because when Aki and Denji first met up, there was some kicking in the balls action going. Their relationship started out extremely negative from that, and here they are bonding over just wailing on this dude who killed their friend's nuts, and it's just kick after kick. The guy's just gonna heal, and shoe after shoe, it's just impacting the hell out of this guy. So it's just funny because you had a scene. It's literally like, hey, let's kick this dude in the nuts in revenge for what he did in a shonen, and it wasn't like let's do something super dark and crazy. It was like let's just fuck with this guy, and they had a really good bonding moment. Look how happy they are in this panel. They're just so yet ease, just getting revenge like this. And then we get back to Makima talking to some of the higher ups in the Devil Hunters, and that was already opening some interesting stuff because we knew that there was a little bit of build up and hype over the Chainsaw Devil back when the Eternity Devil talked about him, and then we found out that the Gun Devil wanted specifically the Chainsaw Devil's heart. He wants that power. What reason we don't know, but I mentioned in the last review that if you go to chapter 1, when Pochita first kind of like appears in front of Denji and he's hurt, the wounds kind of look like bullet wounds. So there's the potential, as I said, that Pochita was actually a much more powerful devil at one point. Maybe he got into a fight with the Gun Devil and lost and escaped. And I love the idea that I gave in the last review of maybe like his full power form was like a freaking chainsaw Cerberus or something. Maybe that's why Denji has started out with 3 chainsaws. Who knows? Or maybe like chainsaw Hydra Dog. I don't know. But as they were getting ready to investigate Sawatari, who was revealed to be a former devil hunter, which I thought was cool, the snake devil ended up just biting off her head and killing her. And someone brought up to me, which I thought was really interesting, is that the snake devil, spit back out the ghost devil after he ate him. So there's the curious question of maybe that's just the thing that the snake devil can do, kind of like a last ditch effort, pull you out of the situation, because maybe he'll be able to pull the head back, maybe spit the head out to the gun devil, and maybe the gun devil could turn her into a hybrid similar to the what he did, I would assume, with the katana devil, making him that same devil man hybrid that Denji and him are. And it would be cool because you also you get a reoccurring character. You can maybe find out the process, like maybe it'll go in, we'll find out 1 what the gun devil looks like, and 2 maybe the process of explaining how these devilmen kind of work. So that alone is extremely intriguing because it opens up a lot of potential for the story itself and backstory build up and exploration. And then Makima talks about how essentially now that the total they have, because they got 1.4 kilograms of gun devil fragments from there, combined it with the 5 kilograms they had, and it's starting to move in the direction of the main body. And the higher up dude in the gun and the devil hunters asked where it was moving towards. It kind of way before that, so we're gonna have to wait a little bit until we find this out. But interestingly enough, we get a dream that Denji has. We see into his mind. And this just is starting to further prove my whole kind of idea that the gun devil wants, to deal with the chainsaw devil because of him being a bigger deal at one point. Because he's got like a door, and behind it there's like you see what I assume is either an eye or like a peephole that you look between doors. But he says behind it is like that he can't open that door. So maybe that's like what his true form will look like, and because he's fused with Denji, he'd be able to see it, but maybe he doesn't want Denji to, see what he actually looks like, because maybe You know, when you have in Denji's mind, Pochita looks like this cute chainsaw puppy, and in reality, he's a horrific, like, absolutely horror nightmare fuel monster. Maybe he doesn't want Denji to see that form, but I imagine like this is what I really want to happen. I really want it to be built up over time. Like we see Denji every like maybe once every arc like have this dream, and it's not this. It's the same layout, but he's talking to Pochita every single time because like, he's like I at least let me pet you in this dream because he misses little chainsaw puppy, and it'd be cool if like, every single time he's in the dream he talks to him and you just find out little bits and little bits about maybe like the chainsaw devil's past. You find out more about like who he is. You find out why he's doing like he's hiding, and like I said, maybe he's insecure about this form because even though this is what he actually looks like, he obviously cared about Denji. I mean, that much is very clear. I mean, he gave up his life to help Denji when they were both on the brink of death. I mean, he probably could have just eaten parts of Denji and came back because he's a devil and human blood does that for him. But he gave up who he was in order to help the guy who saved him, and he's kind of like seemingly living in a kind of like a spirit state inside Denji's mind and body from it. And it would be really cool if throughout it he constantly thought Denji would only like him as this cute kind of chainsaw puppy form, and then like eventually he gets inside, kind of like reverse of Naruto and Kurama, whereas Kurama kept wanting to get let out, wanting to go out and do stuff, and Naruto would be like, I'm not letting you out, fuck you, you can give me some of your power, you can eat shit and we'll both die. But instead it'll be like Denji constantly wanting to go through, and Pochita just be like, no, I don't want you in. Don't come in here. I don't want you to open this door. And then finally he opens the door, and you see like what Pochita actually would look like as again like this nightmare fuel, horrific Cerberus chainsaw dog thing. And it would be really touching if you had this horrific monster, and Pochita, even as this horrific monster, was very saddened and like drawn back that Denji had to see him like this, and it'd be like just that showing that emotional, vulnerable side to a devil, and especially one like his apparent caliber. And it would just be like Denji be all right with it, and he'd just be like, "I don't care what you look like, you're still my boy." And it would be such a nice character moment for both of them. So I'm hoping to get that because that seems like something that we could pull because Denji, even though there are aspects to him that are simple, but there are deeper aspects to him that I really like. There's some weird two-sided kind of like different areas of Denji. You get like his kind of very cheerful, like straightforward, happy, even in the face of absolute like nightmare stuff situation. And then there's like the Denji who just like, well, he's brutally honest to a point where he doesn't try and come off as someone deeper. It just kind of like lends in, like when we saw with Aki when he fully was ready to jump into the Eternity Double because he didn't want to be in debt to somebody again. And that tying back to, pretty much the debts are what really messed up his whole life, and it tied a lot of his character and story together. And then he wakes up, and we have a little bit of a curious thing layout because Power not only has bigger horns now, but she has an extra set. And so, like, Denji's just confused if he's dreaming still or not. Power just punches him and literally just launches him to the ceiling. So I'm curious to know where that's going to go. Maybe being exposed near like fragments of the Gun Devil has boosted him a little bit. Maybe Power is just evolving faster after stuff that happened in this arc that I'm intrigued about. But I don't have a lot to say about that currently because even though it's intriguing, it was very last second and we don't have like a lot of information to go off of. I'm much more intrigued off of the aspects of like a really good character moment between Aki and Denji, but also what's happening between Denji and Pochita. So Chainsaw Man, just especially we also got a 25-page chapter thickness this week, and just I love it. I so much enjoy this manga. People need to keep picking up. Stop sleeping on it. Oh, and we should get Volume 4 soon. And I'm guessing Volume 4 is going to have Makima on it, and Volume 5 will have Aki. Because I think Volume 4 will end right where Makima, does her intimidation of the Yakuza, and then I believe Volume 5 will end with this arc, so we'll probably get much more of a... I feel like it'd be a better Aki cover if it involved this arc, where you have the moment where he fights the Ghost Devil. Other than that, comment below what you thought about this chapter, and what you think about how this is going. Curious to know where they're going to go, because if the they still have to find more fragments. I mean, the fragment of the gun devil is only going to point in a little bit of a direction. It's not going to be like pinpoint on a map. It's just going to be like a little bit of a compass pointing to more pieces. And it's just that slow fragment gathering to eventually being able to find it. And who knows if once they find it, what's going to happen? Because maybe it's, maybe the gun devil is controlling another country. We know at least America and Russia's influence in the series are pretty big. So, it could be in one or the other. Who knows? Other than that, comment below, tell me what you thought about the chapter, and I'd really appreciate you thumbs up the video, prefer the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.